We would like to thank Sophia there for that special music. If you may not realize this, but I was her teacher since she was this high. My musical talents blended with hers, and this is what we produced. Actually, I'm tone deaf, so I can't say much. Take your Bibles and let's go to the book of Acts, where we continue on in our series in Acts. Acts chapter 4. I just look and read verse 20 now. It says in Acts chapter 4 and verse 20 says this: "For we cannot but speak the things which we have seen and heard." Can the disciples be quiet? Yes or no? They cannot be quiet. What are they talking about? Jesus Christ. What is our Christianity based on? It is based on historical facts. If we go back in history to, this is not that far back in history, 1995, April 19, at 9:02 in the morning, if you're from the Oklahoma City area, what happened that morning? The Merrill building blew up. I lived in Oklahoma City, in Edmond, in fact, about 25 miles away, and our house shook when that thing blew up. And I went upstairs, and I thought, oh, maybe the gas line is finally blowing up out there. And I looked around, and nothing had happened. And about 10 minutes later, my wife calls me and says, turn on the TV. Something has happened. Historical fact. Does anybody question that? 2001, 9/11. I was in Paraguay, South America. I had a plane ticket to fly that day. And we were headed to the airport, and we heard that there had been some explosion in the United States. And we got there, we found out that our ticket was canceled. So I had a talk with American Airlines and explained to them this wasn't our fault, and they should be putting us up in a hotel. And guess who won or lost that one? I lost bitterly. But they did put us in a nice hotel. And I remember that distinctly. I remember our guide talking to the television station there because he spoke Spanish and we spoke English about the building there. Historical fact. Nobody questions what happened in 1995, nor what happened in 2001. Now, we'll go back in time, not that far, back to May 7, 2022. How long ago was that then? A week ago. Historical fact. I went there in the back, and I saw there was a key lime pie back there. So, excuse me, I decided I needed that. And they'd cut it into 8 pieces. And then I went through line, and I got to the key lime pie, and some fool had cut it into 16 pieces. I said, we're getting out of control here. And I got a piece, and because I'm diabetic, my wife thought I should have a slice approximately 1/8 of an inch across. And we sat down, and I enjoyed the key lime pie immensely. A week later, and as soon as I got here this morning, I checked to see if we had any what? Key lime pie. My wife is with her dad and mom down in Norman, Oklahoma, and so my wife's not here, so there's nobody going to be what? Watching me. So, if you have any plans on staying for potluck, I suggest you go. Because whoever brought the key lime pie may say, oh, I have too much pie here, I can't take it home, let me send it home with the pastor. And I would enjoy every piece and bite of the key lime pie. The key lime pie is one of the 12 manners of fruit. when we get to heaven. But what I'm telling you is and has been historical fact. And Christianity, at its root, at its foundation, the Bible is a history of the children of Israel and the Jewish race. And as we look at this, there is no question that Christ walked upon this earth. There may be some question that he was resurrected from the dead, but everybody knows that Christ walked on this earth. Their knowledge not be very great, but he did walk on this earth. How do historical facts change us? What makes us different? If we look at Peter before Pentecost and after Pentecost, is there a different individual there? Before Pentecost, Peter was a fisherman. Now, as a fisherman, how many years of school do you go through? Any? Was he fluent in the literature of the day? Did he speak Greek and Hebrew both fluently? Could he write the language? Usually a fisherman, is their language a very pure language? Do they say a lot of things that maybe they shouldn't say? Yes. And so we have Christ going to Peter and he says, come and do what? Follow me. What were Peter's qualifications? Had he graduated from Harvard? Was he a blue blood? Was he the right individual? Did he have the right political connections? Did he have any of that? No. He was called by Christ. And then over the next 3.5 years, Peter walked with Christ. If Peter had a question, he would ask, and Christ would respond back. And Christ always treated Peter in a very loving, kind manner. And Peter here, though, enjoys being around Christ, but does he make a few mistakes along the way? Does he make more than a few mistakes? Christ asked him in Luke 16, who am I? And Peter says, you are the Christ. By the time we get down to verse 23, because Peter is telling Christ what to do, Christ says to Peter, get thee behind me, Satan. A radical change there. And then at the crucifixion, before the crucifixion, Peter says, I am not going to deny you. No way. I'm too strong. I'm too good. I'm too learned now because I have walked with you. And then when the rubber hit the road, what did Peter do? He hit the road too. And when he hit the road, the other disciples did the same. These disciples were total failures. But Christ says to them, their names are written where? In the book of life. Could there ever be a greater statement, a more moving statement, if Christ said to you on a personal basis, your name is written on the book of life? Pentecost is coming, and the disciples in Acts 1 are still asking the question, is there something else going to happen here? Christ said in John 14, let not your hearts be what? Troubled. And immediately the disciples let their hearts be troubled. And then Pentecost happens, and Peter and John are in Acts 4, and they give a little bit of a sermon, a synopsis of chapter 3, the same sermon there, and it's based on what? Historical facts. It's not based on exactly how they feel. If someone asked Peter, why do you believe in Christ? He said, because of the Mount of Transfiguration. He based his Christianity on historical facts. And the historical facts were this, that he had walked with Christ, he had been with Christ, he was a changed individual, and now in Acts 4, he is speaking like a Harvard graduate. His mannerisms are beyond good, and he speaks with authority, and there's no question what he is saying is the correct thing. And the Pharisees and the Sadducees began to realize that he had been with who? Jesus. He was a changed individual. Now, when he became a changed individual, was he excited about it? Yes. I believe today as Christians, most of us, 99.9% of us, consider Christianity a part-time vocation. What did I just say? Christianity is what kind of vocation? Part-time. Now, a full-time worker in the United States of America works how many hours? 40. If you're a Christian, and you're a good Christian, you make it here at 9 o'clock, and you leave by 11. And if you're a really good Christian, you make it to what? Prayer meeting. We'll tap another hour on there. So you spend 4 hours. Maybe you go to a small group here, you have 5 hours. And you study your Sabbath school lesson. Now we're up to what? 6 hours. And we go to church, and we go home, and we wonder to ourselves, why isn't Christianity alive? Why isn't something happening in my life? Am I just existing to exist? Are you any different than the salesperson at Taco Bell who works 40 hours a week, gives their time, and they hope for the weekend and for some short meaning to life? Are you not any better than they are? Are we just existing because we're treating Christianity as a part-time vocation? Peter, John, were full-time Christians. And you can be a full-time Christian in the secular walks of life if you choose to be. It says they were in prayer how much of the time? All the time. How often are you in prayer? Sleep, as I've told you before, is a commodity that escapes me. And I've seen many sheep in my life as I lay there 2-3 hours sometimes at night. But when I do this, I am going more and more toward this direction, is that I begin to meditate on certain chapters of the Bible. My favorite is Psalms 23. In Psalms 23 it says, we are to fear evil. Does it say that? It says, I will fear no what? And I ask myself the question, why won't I fear evil? And then I go over the life of Christ and how he treated his disciples. And they said, let not your heart be troubled. Everything Christ said, it was done. Did the disciples understand what was going on? No. Should I understand what's going on? Probably not. But they still walked with Christ because it was based on an historical fact that he'd come up out of the grave, and they were walking with him now, and it was what? Truth. And then when it was truth, they got a little bit excited about it. Let's say I'm sick, and I have a problem here with this leg, and when I walk around, I go like this all the time. Is that a good walk? And my head hurts. And I go to doctor number one. And doctor number one loves to spend time with his patient. And he spends approximately 3.2 minutes with me. And he says, here, take this medicine. And I go to the pharmacy, and I say to the pharmacist, I didn't want to buy the whole pharmacy. And I take the medicine, and guess what happens? Nothing. I'm still sick. So I go back to the doctor and tell him I'm still sick. So he gives me what? Another medicine. And I walk out of that place and I'm still doing what? I'm still limping away, my head still hurts, I can't sleep at night, and I'm still not supposed to eat key lime pie. So I try this doctor, this doctor, this doctor. I can't find any doctor that can cure me. And finally I go to the last doctor, and he says, here, try this prescription. And as you know, sometimes when you take medicine, it takes a little while to kick in. So I began to take this pill one time in the morning and one time at night. As you know, when you get a little bit older, sometimes it's difficult to remember if you took it or not. Have you any of you ever had that problem? How many of you have it on a constant basis? Raise your hand. Man, there's a bunch of liars out here. And so after the first week, I'm feeling better. Second week, I'm feeling pretty good. Third week, fourth week, I am totally cured by what was wrong with me, and I can walk, I can think, I can jump, I'm excited, I'm like the lame man here. Now, when that happens, am I stoical or am I excited? You're excited, okay? So I'm down at Walmart now, and I'm excited that I've been healed. And I see an individual walking on an aisle like 3 away, and I follow that individual because he had the same limp that I had. He's rubbing his head the same way, and he's holding his hand just like this, and I come to the quick conclusion, this man has what? My disease. Okay, after I come to the conclusion that he has my disease, I say, good, I turn around and walk away. Is that what you would do? No. What you do is you say, excuse me, I think I have what you had. Let me tell you about the doctor that gave me this medicine. And how do you tell that guy? Oh, woe is me. Is that what you say? No, you are excited that you were healed, and if you were healed with the medicine, so can somebody what? Else be healed, because you know that that is the key. The disciples had lived a life based upon themselves, focused on themselves, looking for nothing for themselves, and now their focus had changed, and they were having the eyes of Christ as he looked on other individuals. They looked the same way, and they were excited about it. And it says in Acts chapter 4 and verse 20, they cannot be what? Quieted, because they know what has happened to them, and they want to tell everybody what's happened to them. You don't need to go to a course on how to witness. You think the man that took a prescription had to go on a course on how to tell somebody else how to take a prescription? It comes what? Naturally, because you're what? Excited that it has happened to you, and therefore you want to tell someone else about it. And don't be surprised if they react to you negatively, but you still want to do what? You're excited because you realize, because you're not just existing anymore, there is a purpose to your life. You have conquered death, and the future is bright because you've gone from mortal to immortality, and you will be with God for how long? Forever and ever. Now that is a very exciting proposition. So the more you focus on God and realize that your Christianity is based on a history and on God, then you look at things a lot differently. And you'll be able to tell somebody about something, and you'll tell them about Christ. When somebody asks you, I've said before this, if they ask you, what do you believe as a Seventh-day Adventist? First thing you're going to talk about is who? Jesus Christ. Forget the Sabbath. Forget all that other stuff, because that doesn't save you. You have to do it in order to be saved, but it doesn't save you. It says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son that we could have what? Eternal life. Did he say he gave us baptism? Baptism is there, but what's a little higher than baptism? Jesus Christ. In order to understand baptism, you have to understand Jesus Christ, and then you get excited, and then you rejoice because you know everything is okay. In Philippians chapter 1, Paul talks about that he's going to have to face death. And he says, if I die, really that's the better thing, because I'm excited about being with Jesus Christ forever and ever. But if I live, that's good too, because then I'll be able to witness for other individuals, and the church will be better off because I'm here witnessing for them. So whatever happens to me, I'm fine with it, because God is in control. God will take care of me. My life is secured, and when it's secured, I'm excited about it, and I want to tell someone about it. The lame man here, after he was healed, did he grab his wheelchair and mainly head to the resale shop? No. He got up and he was excited, he was jumping, he was shouting, and he told everybody about it. And remember, when he tells everybody about it, does everybody appreciate it? No, majority of people did not appreciate it. No, but no time in history has the majority of people appreciated Christianity. But the Christian message is the person of Jesus Christ. And you say to yourself, if he did that for me, and you look at the death there, and how he walked, how he cared, and he's watching the birds when they fall, he counts the hairs of your head, he has all that interest in me. What a God that is. He's not some abstract figure like in Hinduism or Buddhism in the far future where you become one with the universe. He's not a Muslim who has to do the 5 pillars of faith to be accepted. He says, come and follow me, because salvation is my job. Not your job, but my job. And I will provide it for you. All you have to do is accept it. Then you are saved, and you do the works because you are saved, and you're excited about it, and you want to tell someone what? About it. You know, if I go home today, and Janelle's down in Norman, and somehow there's a lottery ticket laying on the ground there. This is a really far-fetched story. And I pick it up, and I look and see it's a winning number. I immediately grab my cell phone and call who? Janelle. Because what? I have won some money. What will happen to the money? It'll be soon spent and maybe donated to the Bill Norman Sports Car Fund. But it'll be gone. But if I am saved in the same mannerism, and I tell Janelle that, I'm excited, and it's going to last for how long? Forever and ever and ever. And the more I know about it, the more excited I become, the more I want to tell other people, and I will have no choice but to tell other people. Nobody has to teach me. I am what? Excited that I now am a Christian. It's like somebody being excited. They become an American citizen. They tell everybody. They tell this. Or today when somebody gets engaged, what they do, they kind of hold their hand out like this so you can see their what? Their ring. Or if they have the first baby, they inundate you with baby pictures. They're what? Excited. Christianity is an exciting thing, but you have to know about it, you have to learn about it, you have to spend time meditating and reading on it and thinking about these words and how they were said. And as you say that, you begin to become changed, and you have that feeling there that you are walking with God, you know God, and if you know God, you know everything is what? All right. And today, everything is what? All right, because Christ died for us.